This is Amos Bilo, and I'm here with Eric Rosh. He actually participated and completed the 6-week boot camp with the group of Christian guys and myself. And so I wanted to introduce you to him, who he is, what he does, and get to know him a little bit better. So Eric, just let us know who you are and a little bit of background.
Sure. I'm a child of God, lifelong Lutheran, and dad of 3 and fortunate husband. Sinner trying to better himself. I'm also a graphic designer by trade. I work in marketing. Let's see, what else can I tell you about myself? I've got kids who are beginning to leave the house, high school and college age. So starting to look down the road a little bit and seeing the next chapter for my wife and me. And seems like a good time to kind of take an assessment of life.
Definitely. Okay, so taking an assessment of life. Speaking of that, what were some of the things that you wanted to accomplish? What are some of the things that you were wanting to work on or challenged with at the time before you jumped in?
Oh, I think just being a little more aware, conscientious of both what my diet was, level of exercise I was getting, and just always looking to improve in terms of spiritually, in terms of being a leader, head of household, better myself in any way I can for those whom I love.
It's an awesome mentality. Okay, so you definitely had a lot of things you wanted to work on and get out of this. What was your initial thought of joining something like this?
My initial thought, I remember asking, tell me I'm not going to be the oldest guy in this group. When I saw a couple of the names that had signed up, I thought, oh boy, this is going to be a physical killer. So that was one of my concerns. But I just wanted to pick up from you and from other Christian guys, just good pointers, tips, ways to make sure I'm doing it right.
Awesome. And were you the oldest guy?
Darn close.
But you weren't.
Not quite.
Okay. So wanting to be better for your family and for the people around you in these different areas and learning to be more aware of diet and exercise, had any of those things been affecting you in your life?
I think they all had, but it had been chalked up to aging, or that's just the way it is. Your body starts to wear out, or you go through a phase, and just accepted it as the new normal, and kind of realized that no, that's not necessarily the case. Yes, there are some things that you're going to experience as you age, but some of those things don't have to be just accepted.
Yep.
You can push back a little.
Sure. Okay. So you wanted to push back against that belief that kind of crept in that this is just the way things are and you're going to feel slower and get worse over time.
Exactly.
Okay. So you were willing to push back and jump in on this. Now, having gone through it, looking back, what was the experience like going through the boot camp?
The experience was, I think, enhanced by the fact that I was surrounded by a group of guys that I was comfortable with, could trust, knew their heart was in the right place too, knew that they didn't have all the answers, but were more than willing to share personal experiences, and just try to lift each other up, stay focused on the positive, and just continue to be the best people we can.
Awesome. So it was enhanced by the Christian group of guys, and you guys wanted to together be the best you can. What was the experience like going through, like coaching in groups and working out together and action guides and all the stuff you did in between the weeks as well?
I think the group, the boot camp setting was a key part of this, because this isn't something that would naturally come as with the level of commitment. If you're trying to do this on your own, or just a self-motivational thing. To me, the fact that we were doing it as a group just helped with the commitment and the accountability. And of course, with all of your experience in the biz, it was just, a lot of it was common sense, yet pretty uncommon. So I think that, yeah, it was a very good experience for me. And I was not looking to like shed 30 pounds in 6 weeks or anything like that. I was looking for proven, ongoing, lasting principles to follow in all the areas that we covered.
Awesome. So speaking of looking for that, what are some of the things that you did gain and accomplish from the program?
One of the things that I appreciated hearing, I'd heard it before, but it was a long time ago, and I had kind of forgotten about it, that has really stuck with me is breakfast, eat like a queen, lunch, eat like a king, supper, eat like a pauper. And whether you take that literally or just as a general rule of thumb, as a reminder, you don't want to load up, obviously, in the evening. That was a good thing to just to keep in mind as we're planning things. You mentioned there was no intention of a strict, this is your meal plan for the next 6 weeks. You wanted people to figure out on their own with some good guidelines. And that's exactly what I think you delivered, and that was much appreciated.
Great. Okay, so a lot of the food stuff became clearer. Was there anything else? Because you came into it wanting to be better spiritual leader and be better for your family and all these things. What are some of the goals you accomplished on those fronts?
What I forgot to mention is the other part that I found very helpful was the prayer and praise journal, and the fact that every time we met, one of the questions was going to be, what's gone well for you, or what's going well. And it forced something that can become fairly unnatural, which is focusing on the positive. It's so easy to get negative and to say you can't. But when you focus on what you have accomplished, I think that just is such a great motivator. So I really appreciated that. Beyond that, I can't think of anything specific to mention to answer your question, but there are many things that were helpful for me.
Okay, so two of the main things then are the food, the eating habits, and figuring that out, but then also having this new mindset of focusing on what you did do, what you accomplished, being positive. How have those two things specifically started to impact and affect how you show up for your family, for your church, and different areas? How is it affecting those stuff?
I'm making a conscious effort to avoid / downplay negative thinking, negative thoughts, negative words. It's not helpful. It's not helpful in a lot of situations for myself and for those I love. So trying to stay positive. Being a spiritual leader is something that has come naturally to me. I had a father who was also very influential in that regard. So it just sort of reinforced these things for me.
Okay, we could take a deeper look then at the switching the mindset, being positive, because you realize that it's not helpful when you're focusing on negative things. Now, having that new mindset, how has that changed things? Is there anything different that's happening in your relationships now that you have this more positive mindset?
Well, I think in personal interactions, um, if you're avoiding the negative talk and the negative thoughts, that's naturally going to color those interactions. So I'd like to think that has benefited those around me. They're not on the defensive or having to, I don't know, scramble to come up with to offset the conversation, perhaps. Yeah, that comes to mind. And just more of a can-do attitude, and not focusing too much energy on what is not going well, what was left undone, things that I was not able to accomplish in any given day. Just staying focused.
Okay, good. Has that can-do attitude and staying focused attitude allowed you to do more things, do you think?
I'm sure it has. Off the top of my head, I can't give you an example.
Sure.
Honestly, I've expended more energy in the last 6 weeks than I have in the previous 6 years. That's an exaggeration, but I have been just more cognizant of pacing myself, not overdoing it, and with a good, strong start to a day, you feel more energy throughout the day. So it's all impacted things.
Okay, good. Good to hear. And looking back at what it took to push through it, what do you think is the number one thing that was the most important factor to following through and having the kind of results that you did have?
Knowing that I've got a group of guys that are counting on me, expecting me there, and of course a coach who's pushing it, whom I did not want to let down. That's a big motivator for me. I don't like to let people down. And it's very easy to let oneself down. And that kind of gets back again to trying to do this yourself. It's easy to say, yeah, not up for it today. But when you've got people expecting you, that's a major, major driver for me.
Definitely. The accountability with the Christian group and a coach motivating and pushing you as well. Good. So last question I have is, what would you say to anyone who is struggling with some challenges or problems in their lives? What would you say to them if they're on the fence between choosing to do something about it or not?
Well, you've really got very little to lose. I mean, why not give it a try? It was a great experience for me. I think the fact, as I mentioned to you personally, Amos, it takes something like this, an event, a camp, a period of time that a person can commit to say, I'm going to give this a shot, do what I can. And I can't imagine it's not going to have some positive impact. But even if you come out of it going, okay, well, I didn't lose the 20 pounds that I was hoping to, or I can't run a marathon this week like I was hoping to, you're still going to come out with it with not just the physical, the spiritual, the mental, the emotional, all of these things. I think you will find a benefit in, and I highly encourage you to just jump in.
Awesome. I appreciate all the words, and I agree. If I could get 60 to 80% progress versus zero progress, I'm going to take 60 to 80.
Exactly. And don't look at it as a one-time thing. To me, this is not the end of. We're at the end of our 6 weeks. This is not the end for me. This is kind of the beginning. I came to learn as much as anything, I've learned a lot, and now hopefully all these things I've learned I can put into practice for the rest of my days and continue to dig deeper and gain more wisdom and insight. So it's been a terrific experience for me.
Yes. Awesome. I appreciate the words of wisdom. And I appreciate you for pushing through this, for building this new foundation, and now being a man of God and taking that and implementing it for the rest of your days, like you said. So
Exactly right. Let's see where it can take us from here.
awesome. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Amos. I appreciate it. It was a terrific experience. Well done.
Thank you. You're welcome.